Hey everybody, what's going on? It's your friend James Shaw. We are back and better than ever doing what we do, which is talk to elite people who are doing elite things. And today I'm excited because Jon Acuff's become a friend of our community. You've spoken at some of our events. You've really helped out our people. We're a big fan of yours. You've sold over 1 million books, so you're a big deal author.
I keep
Multiple
telling
time
people that.
bestseller.
My kids don't believe it for a second, but I keep telling them.
If you keep buying your own over and over again, does it count?
You have to be really rich, but there are people that warehouse their own books. I
That
will
sounds silly
say,
to me.
yeah,
Sounds
that
silly.
sounds silly to me too.
You've literally over 1 million copies of your books sold, which is amazing. And one of my favorites, as I told you, is Finish. That's the whole reason why a community like this exists, is because of what I learned in that book. I'm a huge fan of soundtracks, and then I love All It Takes Is a Goal. And I'm excited because in November you're gonna hang out with us. You and I are gonna co-teach together, where we're gonna take the ideas from All It Takes and plus all your other stuff that you work on, and we're gonna put it, weave it into Gary Keller's Millionaire Real Estate Agent model, so that agents can get a business plan that they actually can do. And I think that's the challenge sometimes, is that they have a business plan, but can they do it? So if anybody wants to come, just the info's here, advance.jamesdshaw.com. It's John and me for the day. It's going to be a ton of fun. So thanks for agreeing to do that. We should probably work
can't
on
wait.
it. Yeah, I'm excited about it. But I wanted to bring you in today to talk about goals, because as we get the excitement of the new year weighs off, and we're not yet at the end of the year where we all of a sudden feel like we have to push. We're kind of in this messy middle piece. And so that's what I wanted to talk with you about. But would you just real quick tell them who you are and where you are and a little bit about you?
Sure. Yeah. My name is Jon Acuff. I do two things all year. I write books and I go talk to people about the books. And as James mentioned, I just turned in my 11th book recently, and I didn't write any books until I was 34. I wrote 0 books, and then I've written 11 since. And somebody will say, well, what changed? And what changed is that I learned how to really fall in love with goals and use goals to unlock anything I wanted to accomplish in life. So I'm a big goal guy. I have family goals. I have health goals. I have work goals. James and I overlap in that we believe every part of your life can be amazing. Every part of your life can inspire. And so it's not just, okay, I'm a really good real estate agent, but my marriage is garbage, or I have a great marriage, but I have the worst business. I really like to lean in and go, how do we make each part of your life remarkable, amazing, exceptional? And the vehicle I use to do that is with goals. And so I live outside of Nashville, Tennessee with my wife, Jenny. We've been married for 24 years. And our 2 daughters, I used to say 2 teenage daughters, but one's 21 now. So I have a 19-year-old and a 21-year-old. And I love my job, and I love that I get to encourage folks like your community, James.
Well, you're good at it, and we've learned so much from you. And what I wanted to unpack was just this, like I said, the beginning of the year comes and goes, and we're excited. The end of the year, you do get a little bit of a push. Okay, I want to finish strong. But it's the middle that just seems to be like, ugh. And so when you are in the middle of pursuing a goal, what's something that you do to just keep your focus kind of narrow in the time that you even wonder, are you making progress?
Well, one, I anticipated. It turns out there's a middle of a year to every year. I think sometimes we get surprised by the doldrums. We get surprised by the downtime or the shift in the season. So now I'm at a stage in my life where I'm not surprised by it. I say, oh, okay, I see you, middle. I know you're going to be long. I know there's going to be a funk season. So one, I'm not surprised by it. 2, I planned for it. So I'm really deliberate, James, about letting certain months be what that month wants to be. I don't try to make July act like January. I know in January, I have a lot of goal-focused energy. I am really, really motivated. I don't have to work really hard at motivation in January. I do have to work at it in July. So I go in knowing, okay, I'm going to ramp up my motivation, for instance, in July. I got to work on that. I don't have to work on that in January. It's kind of there naturally. So I kind of let every month have its own personality, and I don't try to make a certain month be different than it really is. And so I'm deliberate about, okay, I'm going to have some off time in this season, or I'm going to plan around this moment. So that's the second thing I do. And then the third thing I do, you already mentioned it in a way, we do get a boost when we can see the end of the year coming. And so I think it's a good question to go, okay, well, why does that happen? What happens because you can see the finish line. Nobody walks when they can see a finish line. I've done probably a dozen half marathons, and I've never seen somebody go, "Oh, there's the finish line. Yeah, everybody, let's just chill. Let's take it easy." No, you speed up. It's human nature to speed up when you have a finish line. So if you want a practical thing you can do to make it through the middle, James, I think one of the best things you can do is create additional finish lines. I look at my year and go, I have 12 built-in finish lines. The end of every month is a finish line. It is a wonderful finish line. So even if I'm in June, even if I'm in July or August or some of those slower months, I still have the end of July as a finish line. I still have the end of August as a finish line. You can do that with the week. You could say, you know what? I'm going to make the end of the week a little finish line. So I like to kind of riddle my year with finish lines because I find that each one adds motivation. And so I'm not holding my breath trying to make it from January all the way to the end of the year with just one starting line and one finish line. I have lots of finish lines. And so I'm constantly falling back in love with my goal and going, oh, okay, here's the next finish line. Here's the next finish line. That really keeps me running.
You can create a start and a finish whenever you want and create momentum whenever you want. I think it's really smart. I have questions I want to ask you about the writing of the new book. Comes out April.
Yeah.
So, it's like a year from now when this thing comes out. You've already turned it in.
Yep.
So tell me how long that process was, because you knew you had a book, you've got a deal to do so many books or whatever. So you knew you had to write one, but then you've got to sit down and come up with a topic and do whatever you got to do. Like, I want to know, it just seems like it could be, here's another day I got to go up and type out some words.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's moments like that. Different people have hard times with different parts of a goal. I have a hard time with the start. The start is really challenging to me. So when I'm in that process, James, of trying to figure out which of these 5 topics or 10 topics I really want to write about, I don't like how that feels. And it happens every time. And I forget it happens every time. So I have to leave myself notes like, hey, remember, the start is hard for you. That's okay. It's always hard for you. Because what happens is I'll misremember and I'll go, oh, the last book was so easy. It was so easy. And you see that in real estate where somebody goes, man, 5 years ago, houses just sold themselves and I didn't have to work at all. It's so easy. And if you really went back and read your notes, you probably had some struggle. You probably had to work hard. So with a book, the first part's hard in that I'm trying to figure out what the idea is. And I'm writing a lot of words that I'm never going to use that aren't good and they're not well written and they're messy. And I think that's part of the challenge of any goal is like you kind of go through that warm-up phase before you actually get to kind of moving quickly. So it takes me about anywhere from 700 to probably 1,000 hours to finish a book. And it goes through multiple phases. I usually half write 3 or 4 books at the beginning and go, no, this is the topic. And I run downstairs and I tell my wife, I figured the book out. And then a day later, I'm like, no, this isn't the book. So it takes me a while. But what I'm doing during that process is I'm honing in on the idea, but I'm also listening to people. I'm also talking to people to figure out what are the questions they're asking me? What am I seeing that clients need? What am I sensing in culture that people are talking about? And that's kind of informing me too, until like all my writing and hopefully the audience's needs suddenly overlap and I go, oh, that's the book. And now I've got a sense of it and I can start writing it and start really connecting.
All right. So if it's 1,000 hours, I mean, it's
like
easy, quick math is like, this is half a year, 6 months to be able to.
Well, no, I would say I can probably do 20. I mean, James, I can probably do 10 great hours, 12 hours, 15 hours. Like the other thing, like one of the principles I would teach your team is I love the soundtrack of do both. I say that to people all the time because I get presented a lot of either or options. Somebody go, okay, do I expand my marketing or do I get really good at this other skill? Do I get a job after college? Do I go get my degree? Do I invest in my exercise or invest in my finances? And I always go, I think you can do both. Like, I really think you can do both. So for me, what that looks like is I speak 50 times a year. There's no world where I'm in a cabin and I've got a hawk and I grow a beard and I'm just like thinking deep thoughts and I take 6 months off and I wrestle with the book. I'm like anybody watching this. I have a lot of different things going on throughout the entire year. So I can probably only do 10 hours, 15 hours, 20 hours would be an amazing week of really good writing. So it usually takes me, a year and a half to kind of wrestle this thing down.
Yeah. It's not you're a full-time writer and speaker.
Yeah.
So it's not just
and trying to grow a business and
right.
Putting on events. I mean, It's somebody said to me, James, because we put on our own event and you came with your team, which was so fun to have you there. And 2 weeks before, somebody said, are you taking the next 2 weeks off to just kind of get locked in the moment? And I was like, I have 4 other live events before that one. Like, get locked in. I flew home from LA on the Saturday, the event started Saturday at like 4 a.m. And I was like, no, this is so I think that's part of it. I would say anybody that you and I look up to that we go, wow, they're really elite. You said the word elite at the beginning. Mm-hmm. They're doing a lot of things all the time, and they're things they love and they're things that fill them up, but they're not coasting by any means.
Well, you're definitely not coasting. I saw that on your Instagram. I'm like, that guy's in California. We're all going to be in Franklin tomorrow. Like, I hope John's going to be there. It was a great event, and it was great to learn from you. And that's why you describe yourself, or people describe you as a goal nerd. Mm-hmm. And I think the people who watch stuff like this are goal nerds. But this time of year, it's just easy to wonder, how am I doing? Is this what I want to be doing? Do I need to make adjustments?
Yes, and I would say yes. Can I jump in? I cut you off.
Yeah, no, you're good.
So I say, like, let's say that you're watching this in June or July. You should 100% adjust, because July you is smarter than January you. July you is smarter than January you. Allow the year to teach you. I think one of the greatest mistakes people make is they overcommit to a goal when they have the least information about the goal. You are your dumbest in January, meaning you haven't lived it. You haven't had the experiences yet. So feel free. Don't see it as failure. Some people go, man, I had a bunch of goals and I'm not doing them anymore and I failed. No. If you are deliberately removing goals that no longer apply, you've already finished. You thought it would really matter to you, but you've got 6 months of evidence. It doesn't matter. I would much rather you tweak a goal and continue in motion than go, I got to drag this goal that I kind of hate to the end of the year because I want to finish it. No, I think you should be adjusting and tweaking the entire year, because that's how you iterate. That's how then the market teaches you. The economy teaches you. You have all these lessons to learn throughout the year. So I love doing a mid kind of adjustment.
We'll do a mid-year review in the Inspire Collective for our members. We have a format we follow that we'll review. And I have worked with many coaches, many who have said goals are non-negotiable. You set it for a reason. And in fact, I used to say stuff like that until I understood that that's total trash, that you can, based on your current situation, maybe you're experiencing something you didn't expect, or maybe you're way ahead of pace where you thought you would be. And so you want to push it up some. Or for some reason you're behind, and yet all right, I am going to bring this down because I do want to feel like I finished the year with momentum, and we'll reevaluate for next. Like, it's okay, right, to make a change?
100%. And here's the other thing. It might have been a goal that you're hiding in. I shared that from stage. Last year, I read 100 books, and that sounds noble or wise and intelligent. But the reality, James, is I did that for 2 reasons. I wanted to impress people. And number 2, it was easier to read other people's books than it was to write my own. So I was hiding in that goal. So this year, I didn't set that goal. I said, oh, you know what? I'm only going to do 52. I cut it in half. And then midway into this year, I said, that's still too many. I'm going to probably end up around 26. Now, there's that part of me that used to be as rigid as the coaches you mentioned. The challenge is that, James, a rigid goal is a fragile goal. A rigid goal is a fragile goal. So the more conditions you add to it, the more kind of like it has to be exactly this way, the more fragile it is. You're gonna miss a day. It's gonna be different than you thought, and then the whole thing falls apart. It's a house of cards. It's not a goal. So I'm learning the more I actually do goals that flexibility is a sign of strength when it comes to a goal. And the other thing, James, the problem with coaches like that is I think most of the time they've never really taught people in a real community. Like, I guarantee the way you teach now is different than the way you started, because you've spent years. Like, I've been doing this with you for years, interacting with real people and answering real questions. The stuff you teach isn't theory. Like, it's not theory, it's reality. And that changes the way that you as a teacher will come and say, well, here's how to do it. Here's how to not do it.
All right, somebody's doing a reset or a reevaluate, and they want to create some momentum. Maybe they're disappointed with where they've gotten at this point of the year.
Yeah,
they want to create some momentum. This is where I like All It Takes. I really like this book, and it because I think it simplifies the goal setting process a lot.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about you. I like to simplify. You like to simplify.
Sure.
And so if we're at a reset spot and you want to create some momentum, maybe an easy goal, an easy summer goal might be a way to do that. Can you kind of describe this difference between an easy, a middle, and a guaranteed goal?
Sure. Yeah. So you think about them like a ladder, like an easy goal is at the bottom, the middle goal, this is going to blow your mind, is in the middle, and a guaranteed goal is at the top, and you're climbing up that ladder. So to start, you'd want it to be really simple. You'd never want a ladder that the first rung was 8 feet off the ground and you had to try to grab it and do the world's hardest pull up. So if I was going to do an easy goal, and I love an easy goal because it creates an on ramp. Now, the challenge is if you're watching this, you're a go-getter. Like you want to really get after it. And I agree. So sometimes when I tell go-getters like easy goals, they go, it's too easy. It's not hard enough. And I hear you, but I care more about your long-term sustained success. And what I know is that if you start with an easy goal and you continue to grow it and grow it and grow it and grow it, by the end of the year, you have this massive goal. But if you start with a really hard goal right out of the gate, you won't continue. You'll get discouraged. So an easy goal, there's a couple different factors. One, they have a short time frame. So an easy goal can be accomplished in like 1 to 7 days. So you go, okay, what can I do in the next 7 days? And it might be a checklist goal. It might be every day for the next 7 days, I'm going to do blank. Or it might be by the time the 7 days is done, I will have called X amount of people. It could be a total goal, but it's got a short time frame. So very, very short time frame. Second is an easy goal has obvious first steps. So it's clear what you want to do first. So it could be, I want to read one article about time management. I'm going to read, I want to get better at time management. I feel kind of out of sorts with my time management. It could be, I want to check my screen time on my phone. So I feel like I'm spending too much time on Instagram. I feel kind of in a funk. Sometimes it's good to just ask the question, how do I feel after I do certain activities? Like when I walk away, like for me, when I walk away from kind of binging Instagram, I don't feel great. I don't feel motivated. I should pay attention to that. So maybe your easy thing is I'm going to check the screen time on my phone. It could be, I'm going to, ask a colleague who's great at managing their time out to coffee and say, hey, one of my small goals I'm doing, an easy goal, is I want to get better at managing time. What do you do? Third thing is easy goals are not expensive. They're very affordable. Why? Because I don't want money to stand between you and doing this goal. I don't want you to have the financial kind of wall that stands between you. So easy goals are usually pretty inexpensive. The fourth thing is they match your current schedule. You don't have to become a different human to do it. So if somebody says to me, John, I'm going to start training for a marathon, I always go, well, tell me about your time and your schedule. And if their schedule doesn't have any time for a marathon, I know they're not going to do the marathon, not because they're lazy, not because they're unmotivated. They just don't physically have the right amount of time. So an easy goal matches your current schedule, so you don't have to change it. It should take like 1% of your time in a week, which is less than 2 hours. And here's my favorite one. An easy goal feels like it's not enough. You've got a good easy goal where you go, I should be doing more. Like, it's not enough. And so for me, that's a good sign that you've got an easy goal and you try it for 7 days. And then what's fun is you figure out if you want to grow it. I mean, that's what happens with a middle goal. Essentially, the ladder in the simplest terms possible is you just increase what you're giving to the goal. You increase your time, you increase your investment, you increase your finances, you increase your effort. So if you and I were sitting down, James, and we said, okay, well, let's come up with a 7-day goal, we would review it at the end of the 7 days. And if it was something you wanted to move forward with, I'd probably try to get you to double it, or I'd get you to, grow it a little bit to go, okay, let's try it for another 7 days. Let's try it for another 7 days. And we would just keep growing it until now, eventually you do it so often that it's almost hard for you not to win. That's where the guaranteed goals come in. It's becomes a guaranteed. And what's interesting is I put that I would sell 1 million books in All It Takes Is a Goal because I could see that ladder. And I still was probably 300,000 books away from that. And we recently crossed that threshold. And it wasn't magic. It was just by that point, I was in the middle of the ladder. And I could see, okay, I think if we stay on this course, if we work the system, the process, James, you're a process system guy. Like I could see us crossing the 1 million mark. That was a guaranteed goal for me. But I had to do a lot of easy goals first. I had to do some middle goals and then kind of work my way up. That's kind of how the system works.
So think about, for those of you watching, think about what's an easy goal that'll give you some momentum that you can grow. at this time of year, because the middle can be messy. You have a new book coming out April of 2026, but you have said that you're going to give people kind of a preview.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. So I love an early look. I'm a pre-order a book guy. I get excited about content. You and I are similar that way. Whenever we get together, I feel like we end up trading book titles that we're reading and engaging in. And so we wanted to give people a long head start on this one. And so if you scan that QR code, you'll get the first 8 chapters for free. It's a great chunk of the book. We did this book, James, the topic of the book is procrastination. And so I wrote the book unlike any other book I've written, where the chapters are short and kind of urgent, because what I learned is you don't write a long book that's difficult to get through for procrastinators. Like if you write a 400-page book on procrastination, you are a monster. Like if you have a note section in your book about procrastination that's 90 pages, like that's not helping any procrastinators. So we actually ended up doing more than 70 chapters inside this book. So these are the first 8, and we'll give people a really quick taste and go, oh, okay, that's me. Like I tend to procrastinate. There's some things I've been waiting on. How do I kind of have some tactical, encouraging paths out of procrastination?
It's going to be great. And don't procrastinate on coming to see Jon and me in November.
It's going to be amazing. The fire hose, like it's going to be a fire hose. Like I feel like it's finally you and I getting to do stuff together, because we've done this kind of thing multiple times. We've done fireside chats at multiple events. We've had lunch in Safety Harbor, which is beautiful. I always tell people that go to Tampa, you got to go to Safety Harbor.
You know, they just named USA Today just called it a top 5 small town in the Southeast.
I believe it. It feels like when I was there, I was like, how come people aren't talking more about this?
Although Franklin, Tennessee should be on that list. Now that I have been where you live for your event, that town is great. It is a great town too.
The only thing we're missing, James, is the ocean. That's
true. You don't have that.
If we had that, I don't think I could afford to live here. I would be in Memphis.
No kidding. Well, advanced.jameseshaw.com if you would kind of want to come hang out with Jon and me. We're going to co-teach November 10th, and then we've got some stuff on November 11th as well. So we hope to see you. Jon, thanks again for always pouring into our community, helping people out as they're in that messy middle, and being focused on their goals. We appreciate you so much. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, James.